In this video, I'm going to show you the 7 steps to improve your sleep so you can produce more testosterone. So when it comes to sleep, it's super important for your testosterone levels. I'm going to get into studies more, but there's studies showcasing that men who sleep 8 hours per night had 200% more testosterone levels than the men who slept 4 hours per night. But besides how long you sleep, the quality of your sleep is important too. If you're waking up in the middle of the night, it's going to mess with your quality, because during the REM sleep is when you're actually producing testosterone, and the longer you sleep uninterrupted, the more testosterone you're going to produce, because the longer the REM cycles are. If you're waking up at night for some reasons, for instance your liver glycogen stores are being depleted or whatever it is, it's breaking the sleep and you have less REM overall, leading to less testosterone. And I'm going to get into other reasons why sleep is important. It's not just your testosterone levels. So when it comes to sleep, I do like asking 3 questions. So the first question is, how long does it take to fall asleep? So when you're up at night, you're about to go to sleep, how long does it take you to fall asleep? 10, 20 minutes, an hour, 2 hours? Do you need to force yourself to go to sleep? What is it? Do you have to do all these tactics? Because I know a lot of guys have these super complex routines, and unless they do it, they can't fall asleep. When you're super healthy, like for me, for instance, I don't need all this blue blocking. I don't need supplements or whatever. If you fundamentally fix yourself, when you were a child, did you need to wear blue blocking glasses or do this or do that? You wouldn't, because your body was in a high metabolic state. Some of the reasons why people can't fall asleep and they actually get more energy in the evening is because the reason why you sleep at night is because it's dark and it's cold. For animals, when it gets dark and it's cold, they hibernate for the winter, right? But we, as humans, we have that during the night. We sleep though, because there's a difference between hibernation and sleep, 2 different things. When bears hibernate, they actually hibernate and sleep. They go between the 2 phases, right? Where am I going with this? The reason why you sleep at night is because it's a stressor. Being in the dark and being in the cold is a stressor. That's why if you get a blood test done, it's probably going to be worse during the winter than in the summer. In the summer, you feel so much better. You have more energy, so on and so forth. But a lot of people are so hypometabolic, they're in such a stress detrimental state that when it gets dark outside, the stress response kicks in and they're more aware, they're more awake. That's why you have insomnia and you're super anxious and, oh, now I want to get all this work done because I procrastinated all day. So that's actually a stress response. But ultimately you want to be tired, you want to go to sleep, so on and so forth. The number 2, do you wake up at night and how many times? Like I mentioned earlier, if you're waking up, you're breaking the REM cycles. The reason why you may be waking up at night could be something to do with the gut, could be something to do with your liver glycogen storage is being depleted, and your body initiates adrenaline and cortisol to squeeze the last bit of liver glycogen to stabilize your blood sugar. So that's what wakes you up. That's why taking things like, here's a tactic I recommend my clients, if they do have these issues, having some juice or even milk with honey and salt to downregulate the stress response, downregulate the aldosterone, the cortisol, adrenaline, and things like that. But the reason behind that is because when you're in a healthy metabolic state, your liver glycogen should be able to store glycogen for 8+ hours. That's why you can sleep for the 8 hours and not have issues. But most people have compromised metabolic rates, so their liver glycogen storage is not able to hold on for the 8 hours. That, and another thing, there could be a lot of toxins that your body is dealing with. And for your liver to detoxify all these toxins like endotoxins or heavy metals or whatever you're consuming, it takes glycogen. It's like the energy source for it to excrete it out, right? So that could be a reason. The number 3, how do you feel when you wake up? when you wake up, do you feel tired? Do you feel energized? Do you feel like not doing anything? How do you feel? And your quality of sleep. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a difference between quality and quantity. It's more important to get more quality sleep than a lot of sleep, right? Even sleeping too much could be not optimal because it can spike your serotonin levels. If you're having issues with your gut health and you don't have a bowel movement for a prolonged period of time, it can feed all the gram-negative bacteria and shed off the endotoxins. That's why you feel so serotonergic when you wake up, very like numb and like brain fog kind of action. But anyway, I'm going to get into the 7 steps, but before I do that, let's get into some studies. So let's get into it. So by the way, if you want access to this entire document, I'm going to leave it in the Brotherhood community down below. It's free to join. It's just a community. And just search up the title of this video, and it's going to be in the description of that post, and it's just going to be a link. Join the community, and here's the document. So yeah, the studies. So I have a bunch of studies, and let's get into it. So first, I'm just going to start with general things. So there's a study here. The study aimed to see if chronic sleep restriction affects neurobehavioral and psychological functions. They tested 3 groups of people who slept for 4, 6, and 8 hours for 14 days, and another group who didn't sleep for 3 days. The researchers found that people who slept for 4 or 6 hours had cognitive problems that were similar to people who didn't sleep at all. So if you're sleeping 4 to 6 hours per night, you're as bad as the guys that aren't sleeping at all. However, the people in the study were not aware of these problems. So these things take time to manifest. So a lot of guys later when they're 25, 30, it starts kicking in and they're like, why is this happening to me? It's a good example. It was Jeff Bezos. He made his record month with Amazon, and the interviewer comes to him and he's like, okay, so what did you do this month to have such success in this business? And he goes, there's nothing that I did this month. It's what I did last year, the actions that I took last year. And it's very clear in scripture. God be mocked, you reap. So in Galatians 6:7, be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So a lot of guys think that they can get away with doing bad things, sowing bad seeds. And this is God's saying, be not deceived. Like, don't be foolish. Don't think that you can get away. God cannot be mocked. People mock God by thinking that by doing bad, they can receive good. Just like if you were to jump off a building, the gravity is going to always get you. Same with God's laws. You cannot get away with it. For whatsoever a man soweth, so whatever you plant, if you plant good seed, you're going to get good fruit. If you sow bad seed, you're going to get bad. That shall he also reap. And Jesus comes along later and talks about how beware of false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they're ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruit. There's a lot of guys out there that say this, say that. They pretend like they're experts, they're prophets, or whatever it is. But you can simply see by their fruit. Would a fig tree give you thorns? No, it should give you figs. Would a lemon tree give you apples? No, it should give you lemons. That's why always look at individuals' fruits and be cautious of that. Okay, let's get back into it. The researchers suggest that even moderate sleep restriction can affect our brains and bodies over time. So with what we can see here, sleeping 4 to 6 hours per night is equivalent of not sleeping at all. This obviously is a short-term study, 14 days. It's obviously worse to not sleep at all. But overall, it's not good. You want to get in the 7.5 to 9 hours, right? REM cycles go around 1.5 hours. So here you're only getting 4 cycles. With 7.5 you're getting 5. With 9 you're getting 6. And the longer you sleep, the longer the REM cycles become, right? So like if you sleep only 1.5 hour, let's say you see a lot of guys doing they split their sleep. They sleep 1.5 later and they wake up. That's not the same as if you were to sleep for 8 hours straight, because the longer you sleep, the longer the REM cycles become, because they get deeper and deeper and deeper, right? And that's some of the reasons why some people wake up super tired when the alarm comes up, use an alarm to wake up. I'm lucky that I don't have to use an alarm, but ultimately alarms can be problematic. I'm pretty sure you can get alarms which work with your cycles, because if the alarm wakes you up in the middle of your REM sleep, that's why you feel super groggy, right? So you need to time it right. And a lot of individuals don't even realize that they're sleep deprived. They were not aware of the problems. Next study, right? This study looked at how getting more sleep affects basketball performance, mood, and daytime sleepiness. 11 healthy basketball players from Stanford University slept their usual amount for 2 to 4 weeks and then got at least 10 hours of sleep each night for 5 to 7 weeks. They had better athletic performance, including faster sprint times and improved shooting accuracy. They also felt less tired during the day and had better moods. The researchers suggest that getting enough sleep can improve athletic performance. So this is quite simple. Sleep improves all these aspects. The next study, sleeping habits predict the magnitude of fat loss in adults exposed to moderate caloric restriction. So this study aimed to see if sleep duration and quality affects weight loss in overweight and obese adults who were put on a caloric restricted diet, caloric deficit. 123 participants were supervised by a dietitian to reduce their caloric intake by 600 to 700 calories per day for 15 to 24 weeks. The study found that longer sleep duration and better sleep quality and baseline were associated with greater loss of body fat during the intervention. These findings suggest that sleeping habits should be considered when starting a weight loss program. So basically, the better you sleep, because a lot of individuals don't realize when you sleep, there's a lot of things happening during the sleep. Okay, let me go to foundations. Like when you look at dead people, they're super stiff, right? And for your body to relax, it takes energy for your body to relax. That's why you see a lot of people who struggle with anxiety, tension. They actually have a low metabolic rate because it takes energy for your body to relax. Same with sleep. You need to be in a healthy metabolic state to sleep properly. And if you sleep properly, you're burning more fat. You're producing more anabolic hormones, more protective hormones and things like that. When you're not sleeping right, your stress hormones are higher. You're burning more amino acids like your muscle tissue for the energy of the caloric deficit, because your body goes through a process called gluconeogenesis to convert amino acids into glucose to fuel your liver. So sleep is super important. Next study, sleep in elite athletes and nutritional intervention to enhance sleep. Not getting enough sleep can affect athletic performance, especially during prolonged exercise. Athletes may not be getting enough sleep, so increasing sleep time or taking naps could be helpful. Lack of sleep can cause changes in how the body processes glucose and hormones, which could negatively impact nutrition, metabolism, and athletic performance. Further research could explore how nutrition and diet changes could improve sleep and athletic performance. This is very important here, because this is just going back to the fundamentals. If your body is in cell respiration, which is producing CO2 as a byproduct of cell respiration, and then going back to the Bohr and Haldane effect, for you to take in oxygen, there always has to be an exchange, and then the oxygen goes. To get into the cell, there has to be carbon dioxide. And then for that, if your body's not processing glucose properly, there's less CO2, there's less thyroid hormones, there's less pregnenolone being produced, then it's going to affect your protective hormones, so on and so forth. So sleep is super important. Restricted and disrupted sleep effects on autonomic function. Lack of sleep is a common issue for many people today, and it is important to understand how it affects our body's stress system. Both humans and animals have shown that sleep deprivation and restriction can temporarily increase activity in the body's stress system, which could ultimately impact our health and well-being. Chronic sleep restriction may even change the way our bodies react to stress and challenge, potentially leading to stress-related disorders like depression. Studies in animals suggest that insufficient sleep can gradually alter certain brain and endocrine system, I can't pronounce that, which can make individuals more vulnerable to stress-related diseases like cardiovascular disease and mood disorders. So there you go. Then more studies about testosterone. So we have 3 studies here. So sleep is important for our health and well-being. When we don't get enough sleep, it can harm our body in many ways, like affecting our body to regulate blood sugar, blood pressure, and hormones. One hormone that increases with sleep deprivation is cortisol, stress hormone, while testosterone and insulin-like growth factor 1 decrease. This can lead to a breakdown of muscle, making it harder for them to recover from exercise injuries and conditions like sarcopenia and whatever that is. Like I see a lot of guys, they're not eating properly, they're not sleeping properly, and they're like, what supplement should I take? What should I do? Cold showers? Bro, just like sleep better. I rather undertrain by 10% than overtrain by 1%. You want to focus on decreasing the amount of blockers and stresses in your life rather than adding things on top of your routine. You have like, those things like this Jenga thing that you remove all the pieces. You want to have your routine so simple that it enhances your life and it does not take over. You don't want this to be like your life that all you do is train, nutrition and supplements. No, you have other things. You want to build a business. You want to exceed in your career so you can provide for your family. You can take care of things. So you want to create a system that is super simple for you to follow, that you don't even have to think about it. Okay. Association between sleep and morning testosterone levels in older men. This study examined whether the amount of sleep of healthy older men is related to changes in their testosterone levels. Since testosterone levels decline with age and sleep quantity and quality decrease with age too, the study aimed to see if the variability in testosterone levels of older men is due to difference in their sleep. The study found that the amount of nighttime sleep measured by polysomnography was associated with the morning testosterone levels of healthy older men. In other words, healthy older men who slept more at night had higher levels of testosterone in the morning. The thing about your testosterone decreases because you're getting older. That's not because of age, that's because of your lifestyle. There's a study showing that men aged 70 in rural areas had the same level of testosterone levels as guys 17 in normal areas. So it's not your age, it's your lifestyle. And you can even clearly see one of those lifestyle things is your sleep. The guys who sleep better have higher testosterone levels. So the results showed that the guys who had slept for 4 hours had testosterone levels hovering at 200 to 300. Compared that to the guys who slept for 8 hours, they had their levels around 5 to 700. So that's a 200% increase. Sleep. Steroid hormones, The results again show that the men who slept more also had significantly higher testosterone levels. In fact, the guys who slept for 4 hours had about 60% less testosterone in their serum than the men who slept for 8 hours. There you go. Now let's get into the tactics. So number 1. Eating a meal high in protein. So before, if you were to eat a lot of protein, it can affect your sleep negatively. You don't want to consume a lot of protein before you go to sleep because protein is stimulating and it's harder for your body to digest. But eating a diet high in protein throughout the day will improve sleep quality at night. So overall, spreading your protein intake throughout the day and focusing more on protein intake from like glycine, proline, those anti-inflammatory proteins rather than things high in tryptophan and things like that are cysteine, which are inflammatory causing, right? So eat, and you don't want to be consuming a lot of protein. You need to just enough protein, 0.82 grams per pound of body weight. If you want to go deeper, 0.82 per pound of lean body weight even. And you want to focus on just good fats and focus on the carbohydrates. A lot of guys forget that carbohydrates are protein sparing. When you eat more carbohydrates, you don't need as much as protein, right? Because remember, if you're not consuming enough carbohydrates, your body needs to get glucose from somewhere. Remember, gluconeogenesis, your body's going to convert those proteins into glucose to fuel you. That's why guys who do keto, their way is they consume whatever, 80%, 75 to 80% of calories from fats, 15 to 20% of protein, and 5% carbohydrates, which come from vegetables, right, from fiber, whatever it is. Ultimately, you want zero. And the reason they consume so little protein, because if they consume too much protein, it will kick them out of ketosis and put them into gluconeogenesis, start producing glucose, so on and so forth. But ketogenic diet is not good. Then number 2, no to caloric deficits. Sleep quality can be disrupted when in a caloric deficit, as being in a caloric deficit can be stressful to the body. This is partly due to higher cortisol and adrenaline. That and your liver has less glucose to play with, so you're going to be waking up in the middle of the night, high stress hormones, you're going to be overall more tense, so on and so forth. So avoid caloric deficits, preferably. The number 3. Body fat percentage. So overall, you want to have your body fat percentage between 10 to 15%, 8 to 15% as a male. If you're a woman, 20 to 25, because they have to bear children, so on and so forth. But if you're a man and you're above 15% body fat, the issue with that is you have more aromatase enzyme, which is responsible for converting your testosterone into estrogen through a process called aromatization. So ultimately, you want to be in the right body fat percentage. But Alex, if I'm above 15% body fat and I want to drop fat in a caloric deficit, that means I'm going to be in a caloric deficit and that's going to affect my sleep. Yes, but it's one step back for you to take 2 steps forwards, right? You're reaping now for overconsumption. So now get in the caloric deficit, lose the body fat. And you can even lose the body fat while eating at maintenance and boosting your metabolic rate and training well. And your body will morph in a way that will build muscle, drop fat at the same time, which will have a much better anabolic response on your body than going super hard on the caloric deficit, right? The number 4, exercise. So a lot of guys sit all day and do nothing, but you need the contrast, right? During the day, you need to put in the work super hard for you to rest at night. If all you're doing is chilling, not doing anything, getting like 2,000 steps per day, obviously it's going to be hard for you to fall asleep. Getting in a 10,000 steps per day is going to improve your sleep. Besides improving your insulin sensitivity, detoxing your lymph nodes, improving the lymphatic system, because the lymphatic system needs movement. It's not like your circulatory system, which has the heart pumping it around. Getting out in nature, listening to the birds, whatever it is. If you get in 20,000 steps, you're going to sleep like a rock. So there you go. And overall, training hard 3 times a week, going to the gym, killing it, training super hard. That's going to improve your sleep greatly. Then number 5, sleep in complete darkness. Like I mentioned earlier, the reason why we sleep at night, because it's dark, so we sleep. But if you have LED lights, it's bright everywhere in your room, it's going to be harder for you to fall asleep. Even a single LED light can stimulate the brain and keep you up at night. So using blindfolds works great. The number 6, sleeping in a cold room. And if you watch my previous video about your testicles have to be cold. If your testicles are too warm, there's fats in your testicles which are polyunsaturated fats. And if they are too warm, they're going to oxidize. That's why you see a trend of things that like are high in antioxidants, like onions, boost your testosterone levels greatly, because when PUFAs oxidize, they cause oxidative stress, but antioxidants helps with that. But overall, sleeping in a colder room is going to benefit you so much more. But if you're hypothyroid, I would still wear socks, even gloves to some extent, and a hat, because you want to keep the extremities warm. But play around with the temperature, because you don't want to be too warm. And I wanted to just show you this as a reference. Do these things work? Yes. So I had a client. So here's an example. So we had a conversation on WhatsApp. So I have been going to the doctors in the hospital for the last couple of years about my sleep and waking up feeling tired all the time, and nothing they have done has worked. Since following this plan, I have had the best sleep I've had in years and years. Let's go. Awesome. Oh, 100%. I'm absolutely buzzing with it, because I literally haven't slept properly for about 6 years. That's amazing. More to come. The only thing is my diet, so I'm 100% confident that is the reason. So nutrition is very important. So number 7. So when it comes to that testimonial, this stuff works, and it's like your sleep issue is curable. It's not some magic thing that like can't be solved. Like you can see here, for 6 years he struggled, followed my advice for 2 weeks, and he fixed his sleep, right? So number 7, sunlight first thing in the morning. The reason why you want to do that is because you want to set your circadian rhythm. It's like a clock, right? You wake up in the morning, clock, it's morning. A lot of people have messed up circadian rhythms. You want to have a consistent sleeping routine. You're waking up at this time, going to sleep at this time, and it's going to be so much better. So fundamentally, these 7 steps will greatly improve your sleep. If you want more advice on like nutrition and things like that, join the free community. There's free courses in there. I do free calls on a monthly basis. There's one in 9 days. There's deep conversations in here, and I do all of this for free. Alex, why do you do this for free? Because I do have a mastermind, which I do charge for, but some people just cannot afford it, and that's perfectly fine. And I have a true passion behind what I do, and I do like to share it, so people who can't afford it, I can still help them out, because I rather charge good, get paid well for my services, and if someone doesn't have enough money, I rather just do everything for free rather than charge a small amount. I just rather I'm either one side or the other. I don't do in betweens. So this is my other side of just free community, free help and things like that. There's amazing guys in there. We do monthly calls. We talk about a lot of things. We go on deep 2 hours. So it's good. So that being said, hopefully you got some value out of this video. God bless and peace.